Join Capital Group CEO Mike Gitlin on the Capital Ideas Podcast. It's your look inside one of the world's most experienced active investment managers. Invest 30 minutes in an episode today. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Capital Client Group, Inc.
Welcome to Decorating Pages Podcast Emmy nomination roundtable for Half-Hou. In this episode, I am joined by set decorator Jennifer Lucart for the show Hacks. Hi, Jennifer. With Rich Murray for Only Murders in the Building. Hello, Rich.
Hey there.
And Carrie Wiley for What We Do in the Shadows. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me. I am a huge fan of all of the shows. I watch all of the shows. I laugh at all of the shows. So thank you so much. I am also a decorator in Half-Hou, so I know the pain and the suffering of a half-hour schedule and how hard it is, which I don't think other people understand, that it's usually an hour-long show that we decorate in a half-hour. The scripts are usually not a half-hour long, and we jam it all in there in a schedule that is really hard because we're prepping and shooting, and it's hard. It's a really hard genre, and people don't understand that. And they are basically little movies. They have become so, intricate, and the sets are so beautiful and demanding, which we like, but, they're not, three-wall sets anymore. Even, if Amy Feldman was here for Frasier, those sets are fantastic, and they're super well detailed. Nothing is what it used to be. So, the game has been upped tremendously, probably in the last, 2 decades, I would say. I think I had a conversation too with Glenda about Will and Grace kind of up in the game. Frasier, Will and Grace kind of up in the game for multicam and everything. But definitely single cam has been upped for a while, don't you think?
Yeah.
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 I mean, just the expectations are, just huge for us. I want to start out with a general question. What has been your favorite set ever to dress? Ever, forever, ever. What character set have you dressed that you loved? Jen, you want to go first? We'll go ladies first.
Just on Hacks or like in
No,
my whole life?
no, just any show or any film, any show or film.
I'm so bad at favorites.
I have twins. I have a favorite. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm literally drawing a blank. I think I can't go first.
I'll jump in.
All right.
If that's cool.
I
had the craziest time this past season on Penguin. We did a street scene, and I don't know if you know the movie, the Batman that was just out 2 years ago, and this is a direct follow-up to that. And we had essentially a street scene in Gotham City that was after the flood, after the Riddler had flooded Gotham City at the end of the movie, and we saw 5 straight city blocks of. I had probably 100 semis of trash. It was just absolutely stunning. The amount of work and we knew it was coming, so we had the prep time for it. We had 100 pallets of debris that we built previously in the stage, in an empty stage, and then loaded them all up onto trucks. And then we had probably 30 cars, and we bought a whole entire set from Billions. Stood it up on a lot, on an empty lot on this street, and then demolished it. So the brownstone from Billions is our demolished brownstone that that Penguin pulls up in front of. It's so crazy. We had trees through car windows and telephone poles on tops of Jeeps. It was insane. Yeah, Penguin was just crazy. So there was that storm scene. But then we also had his underground drug lair that was in an abandoned trolley station that we built on stage, and it was one of those old school trolley depot sort of maintenance sheds, and it was 5 tracks and trolley cars, and complex vaulted dome ceilings. Just the stuff we did on Penguin was really kind of exciting. So I think those two probably are my favorites. But then all the custom work we do on Only Murders, Paul Rudd's stuff, that room in his character's apartment, they had an estate sale in like one of the episodes. So literally, we had all of the action figures that we had designed custom for like characters in movies that we made up for him. So it was like, so we like, and it was all inside joke. So if you zoom in, you find out, and you're like, we had a Funko Pop character we designed for him for Shawnee Mission is what we called the movie. And so we dressed him up as a missionary, and he was going to Shawnee country, but it just happens that his high school name is Shawnee Mission. Went to. So we like riffed off of everything in his life. So in the last year, those are probably the three most favorite, and I don't think you can top that. When you do a colossal sort of like post-apocalyptic, and then a monster sort of transportation hub, and then something so detailed and funny for a character like Paul Rudd's character in Only Murders. Those are my three.
It shows how like vast our worlds can be in a year, like how different day to day our worlds can be, which is such an awesome part of our job. But yeah, just one thing before I move on: is Penguin half hour or an hour?
Hour long.
Hour long. I can't wait to see it. I'm
It's
dying.
coming out in September 26th, I think, or September 19th.
September 26th is when my show airs. So,
Really?
Dr. Odyssey.
We'll all have to like have a cookout or something.
Tailgate party.
Exactly.
Jen, now you have to go last. Carrie, what do you got?
I have to say one of my favorite sets we ever did was on Shadows in season 4 of the Night Market. And we had there's this building in Toronto that it's an old power station, and it's where C shoots and Umbrella Academy and everything that's in Toronto shoots there because it's an abandoned warehouse. And we had to make this vampire night market. So we brought in a subway that comes, we drove the subway in that landed and walked in. And it's a tiny little show with a little budget, no time. And this took us maybe 5 weeks while we're shooting, prepping, wrapping, dressing, everything else. And we did maybe 30 different vampire booths. Some of them you didn't even see, but
it was huge. That was huge.
It was massive. It was massive. And our showrunner even said, wow, that's the biggest thing I've ever seen on a half-hour sitcom. Like it was a massive, massive set. And of course, our budget was this big. And of course, we went over. But luckily, through networking, through people, other set decorators in the city, C was just closing down, and they were getting rid of all their pre-aged everything. And they gave us, we bought at a massive discount, and that helped provide a lot of our background, but that was epic. And when they lit it and the cast walked in, our cast were shopping at the night market. They were texting me and saying, I'm just going to take this, okay? And they were just helping themselves, and it looked fabulous. And our costume designer went above and beyond in it. So the whole thing became this magical place. And that was a huge, you just think you get the notes and you're like, oh God. And then you start doing it, you're like, oh God. And then when it's done, you're like, we did it. It was amazing. It was amazing collaboration with my whole team, but it was a beautiful set.
Yeah, farmers market is like, no.
Right. Any big convention market, it's always
circus. No thanks.
No. Farmers are the worst though, because then you got all that food.
Yeah.
Food.
Sorry, farmers. Dealing with farmers markets, cuckoo. You're cuckoo. You're goat cheese people. No thanks.
Luckily, the only thing our vampires
mushroom people.
Animals.
No thanks. You're the worst. All right, Jen. I'm excited. What do you got?
All right, I'm gonna go kind of 2 different directions. I think probably one of my all-time favorite sets is the Mitchell's penthouse from Gaslit, which was
that's a good one. That's beautiful.
Julia Roberts and Sean Penn's big, not based in reality, but then we tried to ground it with the dressing.
set. And that was like our only sort of remotely permanent set on that show. And it was a lot of time and work went into it. And then they at least shot it. And I remember the first day that, you know, when the director and the DP saw it and they were like, well, we're going to shoot the shit out of this.
That's a compliment.
Best thing to hear always.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that was one of my favorites, but it was funny. I was thinking back, one of the first things that jumped in my mind was an early feature I did when I was pretty new as a decorator, and it was this movie called Fun Size. And there was a weird little kid who doesn't talk, and he's supposed to be sort of twisted. He's sort of like a modern Dennis the Menace. I don't know. The movie changed what it was while we were making it. It went from like Halloween super bad to like a family movie. I don't know what happened, but it was trying to figure out like how to show that this kid is weird and a little demented, but like somewhat realistic too, because we were and just trying to not make him seem like a serial killer. You know, and I just kept, it was like weeks of like, what can this kid be into? And then between like, I'm the art coordinator was a friend of mine, and the buyer, and the designer, and me, like we kept finding all these things, like maybe he compartmentalizes. So he's shoving stuffed animals in jars and Tupperware containers, and then they would all kind of distort. And then those little miniature things that grow in water, you know, but I'd put them in for like a really long time. They'd start to disintegrate, and like that sort of weird, taking little plastic animals and like lopping the head off one and gluing it onto another one and putting those all around his room. Like that was a very early gratifying, like detail oriented set that of course you barely ever see, but that stuck with me, that like how you just takes weeks of kind of grinding through what is the solution to telling this story about the character. That has always, yeah, stuck with me.
That's
I
fun.
still cross pictures of that set every now and then and go, oh yeah, that was a cool one.
That's funny because I was going to ask, where do you find the most inspiration for your characters overall when we decorate? Which sometimes is basically the script. I know that. And basically, we don't have time for this, but there is a world where we get a little prep, and you know, there's always like the magazines and the internet and things like that. But for me, recently, I did a teenage movie, and I found like Instagram is a wonderful resource right now for research and things like that. Or I did like an old age home, and then I was like deep diving into old, you know, old age thing. So there are certain things like you're saying, like there's inspiration everywhere where we can deep dive into these characters. So for the shows that you are nominated for, where did you deep dive for your characters? Carrie, do you wanna did you are you a vampire?
A lot of vampires, we have lots of conversations. Like, is that a werewolf thing or is that
Yeah. By the way, if given a choice, I would become a vampire. I do not want to die. I'm totally in.
they have a good time? They have a good
Yeah,
time.
they look like they have a great time.
But Carrie, you like, that's a funny statement, but I'm sure you guys do within the show. You're like, no, that seems more werewolf. And this
Right,
seems
right.
vampire, and very serious.
And we take it so far as like for our dressing, which there is plenty of, we'll only go for pewter. You can't have anything still, like, cause silver.
Right,
obviously,
right.
Reflect.
We
Yeah.
have lots of conversation, but these vampires are very silly too. So, and they love, and it's a bit of a cult classic and everybody loves it. So there's lots of we'll put little Easter eggs everywhere and little things just that make us laugh and make the characters laugh or make the actors laugh in character. And I mean, they're all, it's a fun show to work on because everybody's so collaborative, but they're so hysterical as well. But there's not, I don't know, our inspiration comes a lot from our designer, Shane Fox, who has a very creative mind, and she loves to layer, layer, layer. So a lot of it comes from that. And a lot of it's just from knowing the characters for so long. You know what Nadja's gonna do. So you know what Nadja's gonna want in her room and
Yeah.
that, but
I think too that that does, and being on a show, all of you have seasons to go on. That does help so much when you've been
yeah.
with these characters. So
Yeah, we have an arsenal of things for each character in our set deck. And when we know we're doing something or they have a special moment or they're reflecting and they have their past, like we have lots of little pull out little things for them that make them happy too.
yeah. Do you still sometimes I could still go shopping and being like, Bones, Booth. Like I could still like go through old shows and be like, oh.
Like everything you've ever done. Yeah.
Yeah. Rich, you
Where
have
was that 15 years ago?
Rich, you have a plethora of like characters on your show of like,
It's crazy. And I think there are two approaches that we take to each character pretty much. At least to the characters of season 3. Both Meryl Streep's character and I'm blanking on her name right now. Why am I here? Did I not write notes? Oh, sorry, you'll edit that out. Loretta, but for Meryl Streep's character, Loretta Durkin, um, the research for that was more. They didn't tell us much about it except that she lived in a tiny little sort of one-bedroom economy, in an old school New York way, and she had been a struggling artist and actor for her entire career. Now she's in her early 70s, and so where that was the let's make this New Yorker a New Yorker. And how New Yorky can she be? Well, she sort of thinks of herself as the mayor of her block, but she's not, and no one else accepts her as being the mayor of her block in that way. But she is very much into like zero plastic, low waste, and healthy and eating, and she's very healthy about everything in her life and very sort of honest and not quite a hoarder, but everything is special to her and has been chosen significantly through her entire. She's lived in this apartment for 40 years. So that's one half of it. The other half of it is because the show is such is so much fun. We probably have 40 Easter eggs in her apartment to Meryl Streep's career. So we have like an ottoman that's burlap and it is made from a Kenyan coffee bag because out of Africa she was a coffee heiress. We have a million little notes and all over her set. We have, and then we also made her very much sort of like a women of New York and an artist, a female artist of New York sort of centric kind of character. So we found this watercolor artist who paints, New York sort of like typical sort of touristy things. And one of her Broadway marquees that she watercolored was for the musical The Prom, which is a movie that Meryl starred in 2 years after it was on Broadway. So like of course that's like we had to work all of this in. So that's the sort of the start is like, okay, who's this character in New York? And with Paul Rudd's character, I guess, is sort of like the only line we heard in the script from him about his apartment was they break into his apartment and it is a Planet Hollywood to himself. And I'm like, that was like first week was like the Google slideshow of, okay, now we have to have all the movie posters, all the movies. We have to create the entire catalog for this guy. And then, of course, we dove in and also gave Paul all of those little Easter eggs that he just walked in. And he and Meryl walked through their sets the same day. And they were like, you spent a lot of time and money on this, didn't you? And I'm like, well, we had plenty of time because like there were permanent sets, but we didn't get to them until like episode 4 or 5. So we had a lot of time to get into their spaces and into their heads. But every element was, his famous character is the Cobra, which is that huge Cobra sculpture in the entryway as you pull it, and everything else in that house was, snake scale, or snake skin.
right.
It was all based on that, or the ideas of what a successful, Ben Glenroy would have in his apartment from Ben Glenroy as a 22-year-old when he first moved to New York or first moved to LA and struggling and starving. So it was all that sort of late 90s, Calvin Klein home furniture and stuff like that, or Casa Armani furniture. And it was a lot of like, it was very, very dated, sort of, you walk in and you're like, it's not new.
Right.
And this guy has sort of a bad sense of like taste.
But he loves it.
He's
Right.
really in.
It's the stuff that was cool when he
Yeah.
was aspiring.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And when you crack that code and everyone walks in and they're like, oh my God, this is
Nailed
so, you can't help but laugh because everyone's giggling with you. And and he's Cobra.
Right.
Like we're stupid, doesn't need to be. It's kind of great. Yeah. So it's basically the script, obviously, and then figure out who these people are in New York, but then definitely tailored to the people who are sort of starring, in these roles, and they love it and know it's made with love and a lot of personality, and it still fits the character in that way that and it makes it and something else because it's a mystery show, right? So every viewer is thinking, oh my God, is this a clue?
Right.
What does it mean? Where is it going? And how do we get there? And then that just heightens the sort of the joy of watching and the joy of rewatching. And it just sort of works naturally hand in hand. The script versus the personalization.
By the way, I almost didn't want to talk to Rich again because I've talked to him before and I've talked to his showrunner and it's like the best show to ever work on and everybody's happy and it's a great show. Everybody has fun and they had time and they had this and they had Meryl Streep and blah blah blah. And I was like, yo, that sounds great. Like I'm dying.
But it was my first show after COVID,
Yeah.
right? And every show has 2 or 3 or 12 people attached to it. You never know what's going to disappear in the ether of streaming. You never know, oh, it's a small budget thing. Can't you do this on the same budget as that show? And I'm like, these are millionaire apartments. And that was literally, a mobile home on the bayou.
Yeah.
Like they're like literally.
Yeah.
And that was a conversation I had to have with the showrunner in season 1. I'm like, there's a very big difference here.
Yeah.
And and Steve Martin is an art collector.
Yeah.
So it have a little bit of an essence of the real that he knows what he's doing. And there's a name attached to every piece on that set in a way that, Martin Short's character just stole everything,
Yeah,
so
he's a
from
collector.
production.
Yeah.
So it's all broken and chipped and dinged and no one cares about that. But that's the give and take that you have to have, with production, with the showrunner. And when you can convince them visually in your presentation to them, that's the toughest part, right? Is convincing them that this versus this is really worth that much money.
Yeah. And making sure they
And
get it. Yeah.
And they get it. That's the toughest part.
Yeah. Deborah Vance, you have a hell of a character there.
Oh my God, right.
Yeah, so I inherited from Ellen Reed from season 1 that did the Vegas mansion, which is so great and keeps evolving. But yeah, she's such an amazing character, because she's flamboyant. She's got great taste, but then I never know what the word is. Like it's not tacky, but she embraces that sort of, I don't know, the QVC. She likes shiny, sparkly, so
Yeah.
it's a fun line to try to figure out. Did we go too far?
No, never.
We got to bring her back. She does have good taste and a lot of money. But yeah, we had the same in the House of Vance where they did an activation, which I had to like Google because I didn't even know what an activation was. But we pulled from all the seasons. It was just like, well, what's all the swag that someone
we're gonna look at that.
made or done, and it was like, well, get it all out, like it's all going in the activation because we just need layers of things. And there was Carl, who plays Marcus, was standing in the set, and out of the corner of his eye, he just looked over the island and burst out laughing. And he was like, Deborah has cookbooks. Someone along the line had designed, so we had rows and rows of cookbooks, Deborah Vance cookbooks, and he just like burst out laughing. And it, that is the thing, that when you can get that reaction for the cast and the crew, that's always a fun thing. I gave her a whole table of like dog toys that were like wine and like the champagne dog toys and like just random stuff I found once I started looking, because I found 2 stuffed corgis, and then I thought, well, they'd have leashes and like little sweaters and things you could buy at this activation that Deb would sign if she showed up there. So yeah, she was a pretty well written character. And then when I start to think I'm going too far one way, I just, our showrunners are very dialed in to Deb.
Thank
So
you.
say, maybe not this, or yes, absolutely.
It's funny too because there's always one person like, did we go too far? No. No.
And in a comedy, that's very tough.
Yeah.
No,
Did-
but then for me, it's always about like the camera doesn't have to see it.
Yeah.
You know,
I could love see it.
Yeah.
right? The camera never sees it. Like all of those jokes that you build in, but it is for the cast, it is for the producers, it is for everyone to know we're doing our job
Yeah.
Right.
in a way. But if they want to start on that and zoom in and pan out from it, more power to them. And I pointed out to the camera people,
Yeah.
the DP, I pointed out, here's funny, here's crazy, here's
Yeah.
wacky.
Yeah. I point out to camera, I go, yo, keep it wide. I always say, keep it wide.
Yeah, yeah, because we also design for that. too.
Yeah.
We have to for that establishing shot where you see the world
Yeah.
that this character inhabits. You want that as well, and it's not always just the stuff behind their head
Yeah.
that you want to
Let's
see.
let's get to some pictures. How about that? Now here's where I get nervous, but I'm gonna where is it? Uh-oh, wait, I didn't bring it up. Did I not bring it up? Oh God. I can edit this out. Hold on one second. Downloads, Half-Hou Roundtable. Okay. I had all that time where Rich was making dinner. I could have.
I wasn't making dinner. I was making my way home from work.
Okay, let me see if I could do that. Do you see a black screen?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. How about now? Do you see black screen?
No, not yet.
How
There
about
it is.
Yay. Okay, now view full screen. Yay. I think that's it, right? Here we are.
Oh,
Yay. Emmy nominated set decorator roundtable. Here we are. So we're starting with hacks. There's your team. We know that there's many others not there because
So many.
it takes a village and the world to get everything done. But that's what you were talking about there.
There's the dog.
look at this. It's so silly.
Your
It was so silly.
rose and your corgis. Oh my
And the
God.
beds are perfect.
And it's like one of those things, right? You go down the weird rabbit hole because you're like in a Petco one night, or I don't know. I was like stumbling across things, and then you get the little germ, and you're like, well, what is there out there? And then once you start Googling, you're just like, could I do a whole, can she open a pet store? Because you're like, wow, there's so much crazy stuff out there.
But Ellen DeGeneres did this, right? With her whole pet line. Like,
Oh yeah. Doesn't
it's not out of the realm of possibility. Is that a night mask or a sleep mask of a bone, a dog bone, right here in front?
It's like
Oh,
a
dog.
little, I think
those
it's
are great. Tray and bowls, yeah.
in like a little bone shaped
Oh.
silicone thing. We actually rolled up in the little ice bucket or champagne bucket. Our prints are the props buyer does pet portraits as a like side hustle. And so she had painted portraits of the corgis that were in Deb's office. So I printed off, like she'd sign them for everybody at the thing. So that's like those all rolled up.
Oh, and then you have them on there laying out.
Yeah. Yes, there are. You can see them laying out there. So yeah, that was just, and then the rest of the activation was all sorts of crazy things. But
The level of detail we go into that never gets really seen on screen, eh? Like
No.
you went full.
Never did.
I know I did. There were at least some crew members that talked about how much fun everyone was having with the dog stuff on set that day. So that again, you're
Yeah.
just like, someone noticed, someone saw it. That's all you can get.
No one sees it until like say I worked on Parks and Rec, and then the poor graphic designer who designed all that stuff like Treat Yourself, who like or shit like that people are wearing now, and you're like, our guy did that, and then
Ah,
yeah.
So
then
You
you
see
feel
it.
then you feel bad, like, things like that that hit like mainstream and then nobody ever gets to see it. I love this room.
Yeah,
Wow.
this was definitely one of the fun. We knew all season this one was going to be fun. Larry Arbuckle, Patty Arbuckle.
Yeah, it's such a great storyline that he won't give over the rights because till he has dinner with them or something. So great.
Yeah,
Uh,
played by Christopher Lloyd. So it was like that was just finding the line between like he can't be a total hoarder, but we don't want him to seem too refined of a collector. And so that was kind of the back and forth there. And then this set, I mean, this location in Altadena, I don't know if you guys have
I've shot
this.
there. It's
Yeah,
awesome. It's a
it's
gorgeous.
amazing. This
Yeah.
room was built for like the World's Fair in Chicago and then shipped here and assembled. So it's just this amazing, it's pretty hard to mess that room up.
Yeah. And none of the rest of the house looks like this. It's just
No.
this room. It's super weird.
how did you get the peacock feathers on set? Don't actors? I mean, we have had people ask us to remove them from set.
I I don't know. No one asked.
No one cares.
No one poked. Well,
No one cared. My notes on this were it was like in a quick concept meeting and it was they said we want the level of like Deb Psychic's office from season 2. And I said, great. They said, go for it. I said, can I lean into birds? And they said yes. And then can I lean into I don't even remember what else. And they were like, yes. And I was like, great, okay. That was that. So yeah, it was very fun. We actually removed some birds ultimately.
Too many. It's better to have more birds than not enough birds.
That's what I always say. I say I just want if you guys come in and want to take things away,
Yes,
I
that's what I.
don't want you to come onto a set and ask for more of
Yeah.
something.
Yes, that's the nightmare. Yeah.
that's
And then people start coming up with ideas and
No. I'm
no one
good.
wants that.
I'm good. This is
Oh,
pretty.
Marty's office.
cool.
This is one we were going to shoot. No, I think this scene got written in at the last minute. And then we were going to find it in Vegas when we went to shoot there. And then they weren't finding anything in Vegas. And it was like, okay, we're going to build it on stage. I think it was the last thing we did on stage, probably, maybe. I don't even know if we had a week from when they said we're going to build it and construction, they pulled an old set and changed it there. So we're theoretically at the Palmetto. So I was pulling drapes from season 1 and hoping they were going to work with the set they were pulling out of storage. It was kind of one of those. And then they were going to be dancing in there. So it was like we couldn't fill it, but it had to
Right.
look real. In the final edit, they're kind of always shooting in a direction that you just look out the window and see the Vegas skyline, which is all they ultimately wanted. But you can't just say here's a
No.
painted glass green screen.
No. Never trust anyone who says we're just going to look at this one wall. Never.
Yes.
Never.
Ever.
Never. When you sent this picture, I was like, that's the shot they should have had.
I felt the same.
Yeah. I also like that, and it's funny you said I pulled curtains from season 1. I was going to comment like, I like how your curtains match the chairs.
Well, that was a random. I'm trying to remember what little. I think that painting to the left. There's in Deb's house in the hallway. There's a rental piece that's by the same artist, and so that was like one of my.
Tie them in.
They kind of have
Mhm.
Marty very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's the other angle. The vintage slot machine was really the fun thing to put in there.
Oh, right.
That one from RC Vintage. Yeah, that was we had a lot. It was such a crazy season. And I couldn't even remember like what was in what episode. We shot it so out of order by the end. It was just sort of like everything was bundled together.
So you should repeat that though, because we talked about it before we started. It took almost 2 years to shoot this season.
think it was a year, 18 months, I think,
Wow.
to finish between all, we had
Starts and
3,
stops and
yeah, starts and stops. It was 7 weeks, I think, when Jean had heart surgery, surprise heart surgery. And then we came back and we did Christmas, and then the strike hit. And we came back and we did more Christmas in December when the whole world is doing Christmas.
what's worse, doing Christmas when it's not Christmas or doing Christmas when it is Christmas?
Doing Christmas.
Answer is all of the above.
Yes.
Was this during the writer's strike? You were shooting this season that you're up for now during the writer's strike?
Yeah.
They started shooting November of 2022 and we wrapped February of 2024.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, we were like, we'd go to shoot a location. I'd be like, well, we scouted this 10 months ago. Let me look at my notes and see.
Oh my
if it
God.
makes sense.
Forget it.
Yeah. Fun.
I didn't include your Christmas because I hate doing
that's
Christmas
okay.
too. I was like, well, we all hate doing Christmas.
Our showrunners all know I do not love Christmas.
I don't like doing any holidays, to be quite
Mom
honest.
loves Christmas, and they've done Christmas some sort of Christmas every season on Hacks. And luckily my buyer Jill Carvalho loves Christmas.
Good for her. Good for her. Now we're gonna dive into Only Murders in the Building. Here we go. Ooh. I like the attic. I like the attic.
This was the tiniest little set, literally. It was only supposed to happen for like a 12-second scene, and then they kept, I think, rewriting into it or something. The first time we shot this, but yeah, it was tough to make it practical in a way. So weirdly small, and we didn't have a footprint really on stage to build this. So there was a wall here in the foreground that just got pulled and just we never saw. But we had to have like a hot plate to eat the rodents and stuff like that. All the crazy stuff that happened up here. And this was a lot of fun because it was sort of about figuring out the period, the electronics and the electrical and all of the period sort of all the utilities, and then how that would work in a way that this guy is living up in the attic for some time, and
Surviving.
for the ghost of the theater.
Right.
So yeah, this is a fun little one. There's a lot of texture there. We had a ton of stuff because always right, we want to bring more. They ended up striking half of the dressing we had, which is fine because it literally was, I think, probably a 12 by 10, 15. You can see it's only 3 people wide, the room.
Right.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun.
And below. And someone below.
And someone below, yep. The dressing, these were because each character sort of had their own flavor and texture, and this is a built set as well. So we had 4 dressing rooms down a whole hallway and then stairways up to the theater. But it had to match sort of the location we shot at for the season previous, where we actually see the death on stage for season 2. So we had to really go back into our notes and pull this up. But right there, that poster behind Mabel's head there is 6 Degrees from a Mediocre College.
Right.
Is one of the shows that shot there. We had to make up all of the show names and stuff. So it was like everything, and notoriously difficult to clear stuff.
Yeah.
And so especially if it's a murder, especially if it's blood, we had to make all of this stuff up. But every room got sort of, and we did a lot of research on Broadway dressing rooms, but everyone got their own sort of taste. And then there were the elements that sort of existed in each room as well. That was a standard sort of across the board issue. But everybody got to wallpaper their own place, and everybody pretty much furnished everything, even carpets and stuff. But then here again, all the technical of all of the stuff you would find backstage and in those tiny hallways in Broadway houses. It was a lot of wiring and cable, and literally like how many times had the house been rewired for phone. And it was, every line of phone was like we understand why that's there and why it's next to this water pipe and this electrical and then the sprinkler. It was a basement. Fun.
I don't think I have a photo of it, but you have that one staircase where everyone had written on the wall, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah.
That was us. And we had the most fun doing that because every house backstage in Broadway, sort of has that wall where everyone who stars there or makes their debut there or whatever, everyone who performs on those boards gets a chance to sign the wall. And so uh, everyone and so all of us, I signed, all of my college theater professors' names. We had so much fun, and it was just a great sort of way for everyone to commemorate, their sort of career. And then my dog signed it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen, I'm sorry I cut you off. What'd you say?
Do you have a theater background?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. My undergrad is in theater, and I started in theater and then came. So all of us and Patrick Howe, our designer, and Casey Smith, our art director this season, we were all theater kids. So
Okay.
and so doing a Broadway show, like, come on,
Yeah.
it didn't get more exciting and joyous and scary and dangerous with a live orchestra.
And
You
a
know.
Broadway show with Meryl Streep to
Yeah,
boot.
really. No pressure.
Yeah,
No
it's kind of terrifying. Yeah, here we are. Right.
With,
So
with the cradles. I love that lamp. With the cradles.
the Pickwick triplets, right?
Oh my
And
God.
we and that was the whole joke was which of the triplets killed
Yeah.
everybody. It's so funny. Here we started with that sort of that it feels sort of Japanese print wallpaper with whales, because it was all taking place at the lighthouse in Nova Scotia. And so we're like, how do we work this angle in? And so, like, for the opening night party at Oliver's house in episode 1, we actually had the Nova Scotia plaid made into tablecloths and the napkins, and and then we had silver cocktail shakers that were lighthouses, and those were the cast gifts, so they were all over the house. So we dove in, everywhere, but you look at it and you're like, is it too much? I don't know. Is that little anchor up there as a bookend on the corner there? Is that too much? I don't know. But then you turn the lights on, right? And this is it. So I mean, like, this is a little, like, a scene piece, that you see it there. It's raked on a platform, and it's all sort of forced perspective because it's a Broadway set. And it's just oh gosh, the best part of this one was the mobile we had hanging over.
Right. Cradle.
Because there's cradle over there because there's a narwhal and an octopus and a jellyfish, and it's all nautical because it's all takes place on Nova Scotia on the waterfront. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, right. Just the space.
Yeah.
We all just loved this. This was and when they were playing together on the piano, when the three of them were on stage, or when they had a cast party in there, all of this, it was just. Most of this is from season 1. Oh, but you'll see here, this is from. Sorry, I'm pointing right at the camera. The flowers right behind Meryl's head there. That's all sort of like Nova Scotia, like Germain. All the flowers there are like sort of Canadian Northeast, and it's mossy twigs and it's mosses and lichen and everything growing in these little tableaus that our florist made. But we went all in on making that appropriate for this episode. But gosh, you see there, like, all the way deep in the back there, you have old theater models on those shelves that we all brought in all of our stuff from. And I emptied out my storage unit into this place.
Oh.
This was well worth the thousands of dollars I've for the last 25, 30 years. Storage.
I hope you got a rental on that.
I actually didn't. I didn't really. It was all part of it, and I just said, here are all my old scripts from college. Here are all of my notebooks and stuff. Here models. There's a lot of crazy in here, but it's all been stolen from another show or from another place, right?
Right.
And then here's the joke. The inside joke on this is that that's from Lincoln Center. James, I can't remember the artist's name. That's 6 Degrees of Separation. So we're claiming that poster there right above Meryl's head.
Oh,
and so
right.
that's from the Lincoln Center production, what, 20, 30 years ago at this point, 35 years ago, where we were saying our story was that was his first show, Oliver's first show. And he was like an assistant to the dramaturg or something. But then, of course, I tried to work 6 degrees of, 6 degrees from a mediocre college, and we worked 6 degrees in throughout every now and again. So everything always had a tie to it, and they just love it when that happens. The music, I think, on the music stand there, gosh, we had Steven Spielberg visited the set one day. And so I immediately pulled out the sheet music for West Side Story and threw it up there.
Ooh.
And we went really far with we changed the music. A lot of the times the music was Duke Ellington's Solitude. And so it's just like it's a lonely sort of, note of it's Duke Ellington, I think. That was often the music that played on his piano because he's a lonely old man by himself.
Do you, because I work with like The Good Place and Parks and Rec, and now I'm on another show with the Parks people, and we do a lot of Easter eggs too. And I can figure things in too, and I love doing that. But I get scared sometimes, and then I'll tell them I'm doing it. Do you tell them you're doing that? Like, do you,
Oh,
like, I tell them I'm doing it because I don't want to, sometimes they're like, we don't want to connect this right now, or that's genius. Yes, do that.
Usually it's okay to tell it, because again, the camera has to focus on it really for it to read.
Yeah.
Right. So they can pull back as much as they want. I let the DP and the director and the producers know.
Yeah.
Here's all the content. Like Newark, the poster there was for a musical that was a flop that he had done before. And they're like, really, Rich, is this really a musical? I'm like, yes, I've actually rewritten the lyrics for New York, the Toddle in Town. If you want to hear it, you can write this musical for, season 5 or whatever. Go ahead and, if you're going to flash back, we've got the lyrics.
Oh
It's that intense. It's so much fun though. It's like, how can you not have that much fun?
Yeah.
When
I do. I know. I get into it. I'm also
Yeah.
connecting different shows, so that's why I get scared too, and try to get permission when I do it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And now, I wish you were sending in more bloody.
You know what? I just stuck to the one that we were
No,
nominated for.
no, that
because I was
yeah.
looking through the photos, I had
No, I know.
over blood.
Well, Rich's is all. I don't. I think they're all from the nominated shows. Yeah.
Mine,
Yeah, just from that one episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this Morgan Manor.
Yes. 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 Look at that
So
color
this-
palette. Look at that.
that's tight.
It was like bananas. And the reason we have in Toronto, we used to have this fabric store that was the go-to for everybody in film. They had a plethora of like Art Deco, Victorian, every kind of fabric. They reordered. It was brilliant. It was so easy and perfect. And they retired and went out of business, and nobody's filled that void, and we're all suffering greatly for it. So fabric becomes a huge issue, and especially like somebody bought their old stock, but we've pretty much gone through all their old stock. And so fabric's a huge issue. So the production designer wanted to use fabric on the walls, and we pulled samples from everywhere. We found this huge bolt of vintage fabric, and it was purple. And it was just perfect. The tones were perfect. The damask on it was perfect. Everything about it was perfect, but it was purple. And we're like, I don't know. And then we just went with it. So that was our inspiration to start the whole thing. And then it just exploded into like, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we keep doing purple? But we bought these couches from like a Facebook ad that they were cream with gold wood in them, and we painted the fabric, and we painted the couches, and we painted and we marbleized the tables, and we took everything, because we are a tiny little no time, no money, no anything show. We improvise. So we make our own drapes, and we add tassels, and we add trim, and we add this, and we add tassels to the furniture. We paint it, and we rent carpets, and we reuse carpets. And this whole set was reused. It was the Cabinet of Curiosities in season 3, which was this season 2, or 3, which was this amazingly beautiful set, but it was written out. So we revamped it into Morgan Manor. And that's where all of our inspiration came from.
I
A
gotta
little
do this.
fabric sample about this big, and then exploded off where we made our lampshades, and we had
Look at
our
curtains.
paint them.
Look at those curtains up there. That's fun.
Wild.
Yeah, they're all on hooks and some of them have like bats on the top of the hooks and bats in the windows in the lattice out through the windows shooting through.
That's fabulous.
It's really fun. I really gotta watch this show again. Like
Oh,
I binged it when I came in late, and that theme song is stuck in my head forever. I love it.
yeah,
But
that's a good.
it's I could watch this show again and again. It is so funny. I'm so glad that like love it and could watch it again. It's like it's great. It's such a good show. This
I feel like
hysterical.
all of us now, it's like practicals, right? But like
Yeah.
your show is seriously like practicals
Yeah.
everywhere. They're awesome.
And this was the basement of Morgan Manor where our vampires were held captive by the guide, which is one of the vampires she was
Yeah.
faking all along. And these were all the cages had to be now. Obviously, they can turn into bats and fly through the cages, but they're all made out of silver, so they can't touch them. Now, I said, what if they turn into bats? And they're like, be quiet.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
And then, of course, poor Colin Robinson. So they had this elaborate thing behind them with these tubes, so that just a drip of blood would come every 5 minutes. These little, I'm pointing at the camera too, but these little tubes would drop, so they wouldn't die, but they'd live there forever. And Colin Robinson had orange Fanta, so he would have just a little drip at a time. So this was a bizarre set though, because we had built it originally on a location in this old distillery, and it was all stone. And it didn't seem like a good idea at the time to do it there. It was very expensive and it didn't work in the schedule. It was very rushed. And then when we got there, we had open flames. We had propane torches going everywhere, and the area was so old, there were so many particles in the air, and there was construction next door that the particles, like a campfire and you get the black ash.
Yeah.
Well, and everybody was masked because it was COVID, all in white masks, and black was forming on people's masks from breathing. The particles were on fire. So just before we started shooting, they're like, we can't do this. This isn't safe. So they cut the whole thing and then we rebuilt it all in studio. And I think when we rebuilt it in studio, it was just much more successful because we could control all these different elements, and we could control the lighting, and we control the sound and the construction and the atmosphere. So it became a much more
Yeah.
successful.
And it's very high ceilings in there. It was a very high, right? It was a high.
In this one, well, we had a tower that was one of them that when it was two pieces and it just went on forever.
Right.
Of course, everything's green screen, so and then they digitally enhance all the sets. But this one actually they did come downstairs. This was probably about a 16-foot set.
Yeah.
For sure. Because they do enter and then walk down the stairs.
Mhm.
And that's another perspective. I had to do the perspective of, I think we did it about 6 times because everybody loves a chaos map with
Yeah,
red.
that like murder board. The murder board.
I really forget it, but they're so much fun to do. And
Yeah.
that's where all the Easter eggs are. I
Yeah.
think every crew member's in there somewhere. And this was just to show the guide and her scheming ways. She felt left out. She felt unloved. And this was her way of she was trying to get the vampires to prove that they loved her. And of course they do. Unwittingly, they do.
You have great fringed lampshades on this show. I don't know where you get all of them, but there's like I feel like every scene I'm just like zeroed in on your fringe lampshades.
We have beautiful lampshades on the show. We had a bunch of them made. We made a lot of them. And like I said, in the last minute thing, like we get the scenics to paint it, like stencil something on it and paint a beautiful shade. And then we add the fringe and we add the beads and we add all that stuff because it's all dimly lit and candle lit that the shades but at the end of the show, when it was all over and we were wrapping, the actors want and the directors want, everybody asked for the lampshades. Like, please give me the lampshades.
I don't blame
But the
them.
the lighting is a huge part of the show, and it's all as it is in every show, but there's not a lot of practicals, there's a lot of candles, and there's a lot of lamps.
I don't
A
blame
lot of
them.
flickering lamps,
I hope
Yeah.
you took some.
and there's just
Look at
another
that.
close up.
And
The season 5, we had done so many sets, so many amazing sets, and we did like an extended care or a urgent care, and it was where you bring where it was a vet clinic, but it was actually for the vampire's familiars in the back, where Guillermo
Yeah.
was hurt, and they took him through that, and that was an epic set that we took an old hospital and just aged it and made it terrifyingly scary. There's lots of blood in that one too,
Yeah.
where they were all chasing. It was a busy season, but this was our Emmy nominated episode was
Um,
Morgan.
I'm so bummed it's over. I'm so
I'm
bummed.
bummed too. I mean, it was an epic show with a great, I have an amazing crew that, as you all know, it's all a collective. And
Yeah.
if one piece is missing from your collective, it all falls apart. And we became a family. We're all still really good friends. We all still work together, but it was definitely a special part of time for me. This is the entrance to Morgan Manor as well. And this was more, really gaudy furniture at a secondhand store for, I think I bought that dresser for $75, and then it was painted gold leafed and added to, and we made damask and candles and drip things. And then all of a sudden it becomes a very scary front entrance.
What is that? Is that a frame or did you make that? What is
It
that?
was a mirror that came with this really gaudy dresser. And then we put a tapestry of a vampire tapestry in it that the art department had made.
Wow, that is genius. It's
Wild.
perfect.
They're
This is-
very creative. We just do most of the artwork. We do all the artwork
Yeah.
in-house. And they really pull up some really great things. And in our show too, there's always someone's explaining something. There's always an illustration that pops up, and that's all done in-house as well. The very talented art department.
Oh, that's beautiful. How long of prep did you guys have for your seasons?
For this season, I
Mm.
think we had about 5 weeks. I think we have 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks prep. Our prep was extended for our last season because of the actor strike. So we got an extra 2 weeks. But these are very short preps. And they're short seasons. We only shoot for 4 months, 8 episodes, 10 episodes. In 4 months, it's fast.
Yeah. Rich, did
And
you?
then a standing set, but everything else is added on to. So it's busy, fast.
Rich, you had about the same?
I think we had 8 weeks, 7 or 8 weeks for season 3,
Mm.
because we had to redo Mabel's as well, because there was a whole renovation of her apartment.
Mm.
Like, she's renovating her apartment for the first 2 seasons that we finally show it. So that plus the permanent sets that we built for but then they always throw in sort of like a permanent set that, oh, hey, we've got 2 weeks. We're going to shoot this here. We can't find a location. Let's go.
Yeah.
And, so we should have had another 2 weeks or so, I think, because I think we did pull off one set in literally 5 days.
Yeah. What about season 1? How much prep did you have for season 1?
I think I had 9 weeks for season 1. And then the entire look and feel changed 6 weeks out. So we redesigned. No, Charles, Oliver's was fine. It was Charles's apartment that we redesigned 6 weeks out. But that was tough because it was all the massive, the hallways and all of that sort of, all common space on that one. That was a little difficult. It was just quantity.
Mm. Just because they changed what the Arcadia looked like, they changed that vibe.
No. It was about just finding enough of like the monster chandeliers and stuff. New York is not a TV film town in that way. That, we have to get lucky, at antique shops or just everything has to be bought on eBay. Because there's not. I mean, there are antique shops, but it's not like LA where you can find everything and the place to go for everything. There's.
Oh, I find it on Amazon. I don't find there's not.
At Amazon. Yeah. Easy.
That's the way Toronto used to be. Used to be able to shop everything, and now there's like everything's going away. All the brick stores, all the good big, the real
Yep.
estate expensive, and nobody can. Furniture takes up a lot of space.
Exactly.
We spend so much time on Facebook Marketplace and
Yeah.
then vamping things because you have to get something.
I was my last one.
Try
I
to
was
convince your accountants that you need to buy things on Facebook Market.
Isn't that the most difficult part of my job? You
Yeah.
literally pay $2,000 in petty cash.
Yeah, no
Oh,
one will
yeah.
give us cash.
You're like, oh, 500.
I'm gonna get fined for this.
I was
You know,
just
they
talking-
turn off my credit card, my P card.
I
Yeah.
was talking to the decorator on Ripley in Italy, and I was like, "Do you go to like Facebook?" Cause we were talking about lampshades, and she was like, "I was like, do you go to like Facebook Marketplace?" Yep, I have to go to Facebook Marketplace because there's no,
In
you
Italy,
can't even get like lampshades over there in quantity. So like, she's on Facebook Marketplace. So yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. It's not.
But there's also, oh, sorry.
Oh no, I'm done.
Oh, there's also that bit of, it's like New York is also sort of a cash town in a
Mm.
way. It's sort of a ma and pa storefront kind of place where you find stuff that is like, it's been there for generations. And so like today, literally it was a glass shop. Some of our glass didn't show up and, from our regular vendor and, just missed the truck. So we had to go and find a mom and pa glass cutter, on a Saturday who was going to be able to do 20 panes of glass to fill this cabinet or whatever. And he had it, but he only took cash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fine.
Good for him.
There we are. Yeah, good for
And
him.
corporate places that take your credit card can't turn anything around that quick. So
Exactly.
like,
Exactly. And it's like, do you really want like 5 days? But he says, like, I prefer, I can take, a PO or whatever, or we can set up an account, but I'm like, I need this today. And
Yeah.
there's no way I can give you 5 days lead time. He's to make this happen and to set up the account and pay for it. Yep.
So I have asked the other panels. I'm gonna end with this. What was your favorite part of your Emmy nominated show? What was your favorite memory of it? What was your favorite part of it?
it's super easy for me. It's a people.
Yeah.
I work with spectacular people.
Yeah.
And like I said, we all know it's a collective. You can't do it alone. And the people that put our show together, the showrunners and the directors and the producers, production, but the art department, the costumes, everybody, it's a collective, it's a family. And it was a huge honor. We got 8 nominations this year, which was a huge honor for everybody. We're a little Toronto town show, and we're just like, what's happening? And Matt Berry, our actor, got a nomination, and it's just, I wish I could bring them all with me because they all did it.
Yeah.
For sure, the best people.
I'm so happy it got recognized. I'm
Yeah.
such a
We're thrilled. We're
Yeah.
thrilled. It's kind of fun. Like Shane Fox, production designer. She was a set decorator in season 1 and 2, and then she stepped up to production design. And I was a buyer, and then I stepped up to decorate. I've known Shane for 30 years, and she said, "Well, one buyer show, Carrie." Because when we started, show started, it was one buyer. It was me. I'm like, we're starting a new show. Can we get another buyer? No, one buyer show. We had to beg, borrow, and steal to work our way up. And now we're like a 4-buyer show or a 3-buyer show, but it's the same people, the same people for all seasons. It's been spectacular.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
definitely the crew.
Jen.
yeah, this is the first time I have come back to do a second season with people. And so yeah, it was a similar sort of that, just having the trust, knowing the show, understanding, the parameters and where you could cut a corner and where you're absolutely not cutting a corner, and just having the sort of backstory and the trust with everyone was, I think that's the first time I've experienced that. So that was pretty great.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think of it again for me is the team as well. And because of season 3, I was the only sort of original member of the art department team because we had 2 different designers and 2 different art directors, different props teams, different graphics teams, in and out. So it's sort of like I was the sort of institutional memory. But my lead person in our entire team and my assistant, for the 3 seasons, it was all of us to the point where I haven't yet, heard from the academy about, getting tickets and events and stuff like that. But literally, my lead person's coming with us to Los Angeles.
Oh,
The whole, the whole.
Wish they were a little better about getting extra tickets.
Yeah,
you know, it's-
yeah. I mean, we're all going to sort of pitch in and split and figure that out. It is a pretty pricey ticket for extras to come, but I have a feeling I'm going to have like 5 or 10 members of the team with us, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's there's nothing like being there. And even if it doesn't happen, the energy of just being there is so thrilling, and knowing you're in the company of the people who do this really well for a living. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And that energy is so lovely.
It's really fun to in meeting everyone, like getting to meet all of you and getting to meet people in other categories, and like, oh, there's the team from so and so, and like, oh, that's so fun, like I'm a fan of yours, like this is awesome, like
Yeah.
it is so great, and that's why one of the reasons I love doing this, and I'm so happy that you guys were available to do this. Total like dork green like dream come true to do like a panel, so thank you for that. The one-on-ones that I've done with some of you, like it's been also awesome, but like to get to do panels with all the groups has just been amazing, and I can't thank you enough for giving me time to do this and to get to showcase your wonderful work, because believe I know how hard it is, and so congratulations to all of you, and good luck. I know it's hard, so good luck. And I will
Thank you.
yeah, good luck, and I'm so happy that I will get to see you there. And at the
Yeah, we'll see you all there.